The ethical violations of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas that have been revealed over the past few months by the investigative reporting of ProPublica has been stunning. But this latest development is shocking. And I think this should be something that the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Roberts, finally takes up. Can he really afford not to? My name is Dina Sayegh-Dahl with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. So as we know, over the past few months, we have discovered what's been happening over the past few decades by Clarence Thomas. He has been receiving millions of dollars in lavish gifts for vacations, jets by Harlan Crow. He's also had Harlan Crow purchase property from him. Harlan Crow has also paid school tuition for a relative he was raising as a son. None of these were disclosed. And yet we are now learning tops even all of that. He has been the speaker, the person that draws the donors to fundraising events for the Koch brothers network, this high-powered political organization in the United States that fundraises for political candidates, who has cases in front of the Supreme Court. That Koch brothers, he has participated in fundraising events. This can't even be tried to be argued to be vacation or social gatherings, but clear fundraising events, which under the Federal Code of Conduct for all other federal judges is clearly not allowed. We know the Supreme Court is saying that they are going to self-govern. And so that's why they aren't bound by that code of conduct. Clearly they aren't self-governing because you have the Supreme Court justice doing this, not disclosing it. The only reason why we know this is because of this really important investigative reporting ProPublica is doing, which is great they're doing it, but frankly, they shouldn't have to be doing it. We should be told that one of the most powerful men in the world is treating our judiciary like this. Let me read to you exactly what the Federal Code of Conduct says in regards to this kind of affiliation with political and fundraising events, because that would be what he is violating if he were indeed held to the same standard as any other federal judge. This is very clear that he is in a violation of this. It says judges are advised not to associate themselves with entities that are publicly identified with controversial legal, social, or political positions, or that regularly engage in adversarial proceedings in the federal courts. Under Canon 5, judges are also advised to refrain from joining political organizations or engaging in political activities. Donors engaging in these sorts of activities should not be permitted to serve as a host or sponsor of a reception. So clearly here, the Koch brothers were serving as a host of this reception. It was their fundraising event. In fact, it was one of their top fundraising events. People at these sorts of dinners had to donate at least $100,000 to even get invited. And what is the draw? What is the reason to donate $100,000? Well, you're going to hear from Justice Clarence Thomas. You're going to hear from somebody who has been given enormous power by the people and is using this power in this truly unethical way, a clear violation of any other judge in the country did this, they would have a disciplinary proceeding on this immediately. And in fact, that's why you don't hear from this from other judges, because most judges in this country wouldn't even take a sporting ticket for free because they know that there are consequences to their action. They don't want cases thrown out because that there was a conflict of interest, whether or not that conflict of interest is real or apparent, because an apparent conflict of interest is even as important as a real conflict of interest in our judiciary system. But the Supreme Court justices have decided that they are above not only the law, but the ethics here in this case, and are not willing to check themselves. Apparently, it has gotten even that bad that even Justice Kavanaugh came out recently saying that concrete steps will be taken. I think the fact that we're even hearing from Kavanaugh goes to show how bad the news is about what Justice Clarence Thomas has done, but we have not heard anything close to a rebuke from Chief Justice Roberts. And I think it's really unclear whether or not he's going to be willing to do something. But this latest reporting hopefully will push him over the edge, because this is not even a discussion of whether or not, again, this is some sort of social gathering or a vacation. We know that Justice Clarence Thomas has attended these Bohemian Grove retreats, also kind of sponsored by the Koch brothers, for decades. It's in Northern California, and these like-minded ultra-conservatives get together, these high-powered individuals, this networking or this sharing of ideas. Clearly also something that we should know about. We should know who our Supreme Court justices are willing to be talking to and strategizing with and hearing from. We have heard, again, none of that without the investigative reporting at ProPublica. But even that, if you're going to try to argue that that's some sort of social event, these fundraising dinners are nothing but that. Him using his power in order to benefit a political organization in our country. And this is not just an abstract issue. There is a case in front of the Supreme Court that they are taking up this term that the Koch network is extremely interested in. They want to overturn Chevron, the landmark case that basically says that Congress enacts laws, but the administrative agencies are the ones that create the rules upon which these laws will be enforced. Congress doesn't get into the minutia of the rules. And this, we're talking about rules for cell phone towers, environmental safeguards. All of that is done within the actual agency that the rule applies to. The Koch network has wanted to get rid of this for years. This is a conservative goal now. And Justice Clarence Thomas, although he had issued his own opinion, he wrote the opinion in Brand X that had supported Chevron. He now says that he thinks that the administrative agencies shouldn't have this much control over writing regulations. He is doing a 360 on his own opinions. And you know what? People can change their minds sometimes, but this is why you need ethics. You need to follow your ethics, because now you do have an appearance of a conflict. You have not only an appearance of a conflict, you have an actual conflict. And now that this issue is before the court, you must recuse yourself. If you don't recuse yourself, the credibility of the opinion is in serious jeopardy, because everyone, for good reason, will think that you willing to overturn your own opinion in Brand X in order to allow there to be less regulations, because that is what the plaintiffs in this upcoming case, Loper Bright, the Supreme Court is going to be hearing this term. And the plaintiffs on this case are with the Koch network. And again, they're trying to overturn Chevron, and they're trying to overturn basically Thomas's own opinion in Brand X, which had agreed with Chevron. And Thomas now is willing to overturn his own opinion. Is this a coincidence, or is this because you are now the main headliner for this network? This is why they must have their own. They're not willing to rigorously look at themselves and ask the judges to adhere to their own conduct. Congress must do it for them. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse did an amazing job on the floor, taking down all of the unethical behavior by Clarence Thomas, and his point that our local city councils have more stringent ethics than our Supreme Court. I know to be personal as well to be true, because I am in addition to being a lawyer and a legal analyst, I am on my city commission. I'm a city commissioner, and I had to do disclosure forms, and I have to disclose not only if I got more than a $50 gift, but if my spouse got a $50 gift that could have been related to my business in front of the commission. And this is just me as a lowly city commissioner out there in one of the many cities in the state of California, in one of our 50 states in our union. And if I have to do those kind of ethical disclosures, if I have to disclose whether my spouse is getting a gift, and yet Clarence Thomas doesn't have to disclose that his wife got millions of dollars from Harlan Crow because of, maybe they want some influence on the court. There is something really basic wrong. No two ways about it. Not only this will destroy the credibility of the court, and it could be actually a federal violation. The jet that he took to the Koch brother network, they said they didn't pay for the jet. He did not disclose the jet. This clearly doesn't seem to be something he can say was a personal vacation because he's going to a network, fundraising event. And so his failure to disclose that receipt of a free jet in itself could be a federal violation. And just because you're a Supreme Court justice doesn't mean ethics shouldn't apply to you, doesn't mean the law shouldn't apply to you. If you have decided to become one of the most powerful people in the world, you give up things. You give up that corporate job that maybe allows you to pay for that private jet yourself. You give up some privacy because you are now acting in service of the people who have given you this power. And if you're unwilling to be transparent, if you're unwilling to not headline a fundraiser, that's fine. Just don't be a Supreme Court justice. You can resign at any time. My name is Dina Sayegh-Doll with the Midas Touch Network. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Midas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.